I knew Tara years ago. We haven't talked too much over in the last decade or
I know.
so. But I did see online the book was coming out, and of course, want to support Tara as an old friend. We were in some discussion groups together ages ago. So when I was reading the book, I'm like, all right, there are things I want to do personally in life where I'm like, all right, normally, like, who gets to do that? Like, do I have permission to do that? Can I just be bold and like say, like, I want to do this and make this change in the world or help people innovate and try something completely different? Like, who am I to do that? And it's like, so for me, like going into the book, I'm like, all right, I struggle with do you have permission? I want to share, because I think kind of gets at to like one of the issues with the Brules is that as I was reading the book, and when you're reading the book, each chapter starts with the Brule that we want to try and break. But when I would see the bold title, like Brule, it would specify this. My brain's like, yes, I should do that thing. So like, even though I'm actively reading this thing, it's like, all right, we need to push back against these BS rules. My brain's like, embrace the rule. It's like so deep in me that I'm like even though we're talking about, pushing back against some of these things that we've just internalized over the years, just want to be honest with like I'm reading, like my brain's like, I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
So I think what you're speaking to is like the brain flip. It's sort of like a game of opposites at first. Where
can I put on screen just like our first rule, just like, because it was like things like make New Year's resolutions. We're gonna talk about like why actually we should push back against that notion. But my brain's like, yes, make New Year's resolutions. That's what we're supposed to do. Right. So
right. It's stage one, I think, is when you recognize that it's a Brule, because your brain at first, like our neural processing, our neural pathways are so ingrained, right? So we'll see, like, I'm looking at the table of contents here, like be realistic is a Brule. But I've had people open this book, look at the table of contents and be like, oh yeah, be realistic is really important. We need to do that. And I'm like, no, that's the Brule to break.